Hey, how's it going, guys? 2AEDU here with my Taurus Revolver, and let's talk about something. It may piss off Susan WikiWiki and the former vice president, but we need to talk about the letters that the ATF sent to Texas, Missouri, and Colorado. Welcome back, guys. I'm not 2AEDU, actually. My name is John Crump. I'm an investigative journalist with MLN News, where I report on the ATF, FBI, and all the agencies and organizations that want to violate your and my God-given, constitutionally protected right. I'm also a gun rights activist. I currently serve as the Virginia State Director for Gun Owners of America, Washington, D.C.'s only no compromise gun lobby. Before we get into today's story, if you like 2AEDU and you like me, you can head over to blackswantactical.com and buy one of these. These are the Future Felons of America patches. We have two different versions. One glows, one doesn't. Check it out, blackswantactical.com. We have a lot of really cool stuff over there. We are also brought to you by Tusk. Tusk is the only cryptocurrency on the planet with the gun market in mind. Before we get into today's story, give this video a big thumbs up, like, comment, share. Let me know what you think about it down below, because I read all those comments and I'm kind of curious. All right, so the ATF, our buddies with the ATF, they are kind of always dirty, doing some underhanded stuff. They sent out 3 letters. One letter went to Texas, one letter went to Missouri, and one letter went to Colorado. All right, let's start with the Texas one. Texas recently passed a bill that legalized suppressors made in Texas and kept in Texas doesn't leave Texas. So any suppressor made and kept in Texas, Texas is saying it is exempt from the NFA. And they might have good reason to do this. The federal government was never meant to regulate state issues like this. It was meant to regulate interstate commerce. So if a suppressor never leaves the state and is manufactured in Texas, Texas really should have the right to say we don't want that on the NFA. But the ATF is telling FFLs to ignore Texas law and only obey their federal law. They say the federal law supersedes state law. Not only did Texas get a letter, Missouri got a similar letter. Missouri has something called the Second Amendment Protection Act, and it says stuff like no red flag laws, which is one of the things the ATF had an issue with. No gun registration, ATF had an issue with that, and a few other things that the ATF specifically had an issue with. The ATF once again said, ignore state law, federal law supersedes state law, which is interesting because we are going to get to Colorado, and that's where it gets really interesting. All right, the ATF sent a letter to Colorado saying, obey state law and ignore federal law. Basically, federal law says if someone gets stuck in a delayed period for 3 days, you can go ahead and transfer the firearm if you're an FFL. Colorado changed their law to state that if a person is delayed, you are not allowed to transfer the firearm no matter how long it takes until you get to proceed. The ATF is saying you have to obey the Colorado law and ignore the federal law, which is kind of interesting because it's kind of hypocritical of them, don't you think? Think about it. So they're saying if a law is tougher and takes away more gun rights, you have to obey it on the state level. But if a law gives you more gun rights or protects you from the federal law, then you have to ignore it. Kind of hypocritical of them, if you think. Also, the federal government hasn't really sent out any letters on states that have legalized drugs like marijuana. I'm for getting rid of all prohibitions on drugs because I don't think the war on drugs work. But if the government is cracking down on guns, maybe they should crack down on other things. Or maybe they're just targeting guns because they have a fundamental hatred of firearms. That is probably what I am leaning towards, but I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think. It's a short little video today because there's not much to it. Let's see what happens. Also, if you like what I do here, I have a Patreon. Go over to Patreon and hit me up. Help me do this work that I'm doing here. Also, check out my live channel, John Crump Live, where we have a lot of people from a lot of different walks of life, from InfoWars people to gunsmiths to everything. Uh-oh, I just said InfoWars. I'm probably going to get demonetized. Oh, well, it's worth it. All right, stay ever vigilant, stay ever free, keeping the fight, and I'm out. Peace.